What's up, everyone? It's Anna, also known as That Star Wars Girl, and today I am going to be talking about Star Trek. Yes, I know, everyone freaks out and loses their mind when I talk about Star Trek, but I am a huge Star Trek fan. I always have been, and I always will be. Now, I had an issue a couple days with the Picard trailer. We all kind of know how that went. But, unfortunately, there is more news in the whole universe of Star Trek. And we are going to be talking about Captain Janeway herself. And the actress playing her, Kate Mulgrew. Now, I loved Voyager. It is, very special to me because when I started watching Voyager, I was able to introduce my best friend, Hope, from high school. I introduced her to Star Trek. And, I was able to finally have a friend that loved Star Trek and I could talk about Star Trek with, and we would be in high school, and then this is how cool we were. We would, leave on our lunch and go down the street to where she lived to go watch Star Trek, and we would debate on if we wanted to go back or if we should just continue to binge watch Star Trek. So that's my, what me and my best friend did in high school, and, we have this very special bond over Voyager because we watched it together, and I had seen The Next Generation, I had seen the original series because we had them on VHS when I was growing up, so I had already seen all those and I hadn't seen Voyager, so that was something that was special because I got to share it with a friend, and she was somebody that had never seen Star Trek before, so I got to introduce her to that, and it was something that I had never seen before, which is pretty rare for a sci-fi show, and we shared it together, so we have this, deep-rooted love for Captain Janeway and the entire Voyager crew. So to find out that Captain Janeway, Kate Mulgrew, said something about Gene Roddenberry and about, the original series, and then about Picard and, The Next Gen, it's kind of heartbreaking, and that's why when it's something that I care about so much, I don't like to learn about necessarily the people that play these characters that I love, because I don't want to have my heart broken. But there's an article with what she said, because she was in an interview, and that's where this came out. So I'm going to go read that article, and we are going to see what she said together. So let's check this out. Alright, so I have this article pulled up. It is from Bounding Into Comics. Alright, and there we have it herself. Miss Captain Catherine Janeway. So Star Trek Voyager's Kate Mulgrew claims Gene Roddenberry and Star Trek the original series are extremely misogynist. Well, here's something that I have to say about the time period that it was in. You need to take stuff like that into account. I understand the costumes are a bit of an issue with certain women, the way that the women dressed in the original series, with those very, very short dresses. But it's not like they're walking around bending over all the time. They just have short dresses. They are wearing tights. They have boots on. They have long sleeves. It's not like, they're showing off everything. And again, it's not like they're bending over, and they have shorts on under their dresses. So I can understand how people would have a problem with the length of the dresses. But honestly, it's not that bad. I mean, you want to talk about misogyny, look at what Seven of Nine wears in, the entire show. She's in like a skin-tight bodysuit. You want to say that that's not misogynistic? But this is, I guess to each their own. I never felt offended by the way that the women were dressing in Star Trek, and I feel like if any of them had any complaints, they would say so. And hey, Star Trek, the original series, accomplished a lot. Look at Uhura. She was a black woman and this was during civil rights movements. Martin Luther King was a fan of the show, and Uhura, the actress, she was going to leave the show, and she didn't, because Martin Luther King Jr. told her that what she was doing is important and that she's giving something for little girls to look up to. Not just little black girls, but little girls, because she is one of the main, members of the crew. She's on the bridge. The captain relies on her. The rest of the crew rely on her. And yes, she's a beautiful woman. They do have her wear, different costumes throughout. In Mirror, Mirror, she has that outfit of the parallel universe where it's showing, her stomach. She's a beautiful woman. Nobody was offended that Uhura was showing more skin. And it was even though a parallel universe. It was an alien environment to her and Captain Kirk. And, yeah, she was uncomfortable. She went like this, but she had to own the situation. You want to say misogynistic because of the way that they were dressed, but every single female character in the original series was a very, very strong, dominant woman. And if you watch that, you would know that. And I'm sure that she did. I'm sure this is just, at least I'm giving her the benefit of a doubt that this is just about the costumes. Because, there's nothing wrong with, wanting to look good. There's nothing wrong with women wearing outfits that, emphasize their features. There's nothing wrong with that. And in Star Trek, the original series, I didn't have it doesn't bother me to see the costumes that the women are in. Because guess what? They look freaking great. And then when I go to Star Trek conventions and they're all in their 80s and older, I feel like they're happy that they have, this is how beautiful I used to be. And again, they were all great characters. You're at least, even if they had a tiny role, there was no passive woman in Star Trek. They're all strong. They're all ready to put their life down on the line because they are in Starfleet and they know what that entails. You're exploring this vast universe. And guess what? There's a lot of dangers in space and they are ready for that. And if anything, that's incredibly empowering. And yeah, they're doing it in dresses. Great for them. I would like to see Captain Kirk do some of the stuff that Uhura did in a dress. And he would do it. He would do it and he'd completely own it. So good for you, Captain Kirk. But still, it's not like it wasn't equal. Half the time Captain Kirk's shirt gets, ripped off from whatever he's fighting. He's always getting hit by people. And, I don't have a problem with it. I think that it was done pretty equally. But you know what, to each their own. But let's get this article. Sorry about the little off-topic rant. Kate Mulgrew, who played the first female Star Trek captain and Captain Catherine Janeway in Star Trek Voyager, claims Star Trek the original series is extremely misogynist. I just covered that. In an interview with Radio Times while promoting her upcoming documentary series titled The Space Race, Mulgrew responded to a question regarding a numbers of fans. I feel like that just needs to be a number of fans. Discontent with Star Trek Discovery. The question noted that some people claim the dislike of Discovery has a misogynist edge to the vitriol. I don't think I've heard anyone say anything about misogyny. When I listen to Gary from Nerdrotic talk about Star Trek Discovery, he's never saying that, they're over-sexualizing women. And when I hear Mecha Random, when I hear them talk about it, it's always about how there is a lack of consistency in the way that the plots are or the way that something happens in one episode and then it happens in another episode, but it's not cohesive with the science that's laid down. None of the characters have any depth to them. The main character is completely flat. She's a Mary Sue that's perfect at everything, but nothing that they say is misogynistic. It's problems with the writing and the directing. I have not heard a single misogynistic thing about it, so that right there in itself is just, I feel like a flat-out lie. Mulgrew responded to the question by not only stating that the original series was extremely misogynistic, but that Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry was too. I don't believe that for a second. She even lumped in Star Trek The Next Generation as it followed Jean-Luc Picard. Captain Jean-Luc Picard. I like how they say captain for her, but then they don't say captain for Jean-Luc. You want to say misogynistic against men? I don't think you should be surprised by that. Did you watch the original series? I did. Yes, I've watched them hundreds of times. It was extremely misogynistic. No, it wasn't. I did not feel the misogyny. I understand the time period is different. I understand the issue with the costumes, but again, each woman held their freaking ground. There was not a weak woman on that damn show. So, misogynistic, if you want to say that a strong, empowered woman that is also comfortable enough with her body to go onto a set and wear that costume and own it, that's what it was for years, and Picard followed. That to a certain extent. I think that there's the only episode that made me uncomfortable when I was watching Star Trek was the one in the Next Gen when they get that virus, the one that was introduced in the original series where it makes you drunk. And I just remember being so uncomfortable because I was watching it with my dad, and Beverly, they kind of get all, ready for adult time, so it's all sexy time, got that whole overtone for it, and Beverly and Jean-Luc, they're in the oh my god, the elevator, and like she unzips, and I just remember, oh my god, I'm watching this with my dad. So that was the only time when it's like, let me like, where they're like, let's really show off how good looking these actresses are, and it kind of made me uncomfortable because I was watching with my dad, and also I'm like, he's not into you, girl, which we find out later wasn't true, but still, that made me uncomfortable. But I didn't feel I didn't feel like it was misogynistic and meant to, be sexist. It was more, this is the plot, and you're meant to be uncomfortable because the crew is infected with this, virus. So, again, there's an explanation to everything that, every concern that she's raising. Roddenberry himself was that way. We are simply going to have to change this sensibility, this ideology, and we are. But it's like moving granite. It takes a long time. We are not a society that has endorsed females as equals to males on television. I don't agree with that. I do not agree with that at all. Again, who are you? Who is speaking right now? Oh yeah, that's right. Captain Catherine Janeway of the USS Voyager. Captain. If any, like, come on, you want to say that women aren't portrayed equally to men? Again, you can go look at the original series. You have Uhura. You have Nurse Chapel. You have many other female characters that are, again, strong women. They're all, they always use this for men, but, they say alpha male. They're all alpha. They command the room. They command that presence. And there's nothing wrong with them looking beautiful. There's nothing wrong with them dressing a certain way. That's not misogynistic. That's embracing for some, because yes, there are female villains. It's, the femme fatale persona. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't see why women look at other women and see, oh, well, that woman's dress is too short. Oh my god, a misogynistic man probably chose that. But, I mean, they look great. I don't see the problem with it. You have a problem with that, but, I mean, you're wearing a skin-tight suit. Catherine Janeway is, you can completely see her shape. Yes, she's completely covered head to toe, but it doesn't mean that she doesn't look sexualized. Same with Seven of Nine. Same with Deanna Troi. Same with Beverly Crusher. Heck, even when she's wearing her big overcoat, she still looks beautiful. There's nothing wrong with that, and it's not misogynistic at all. And I feel like that's a really big problem that a lot of women don't understand. That just because you look nice, just because you dress a certain way, doesn't mean it's misogynistic, doesn't mean it's sexist, doesn't mean that it's wrong, that it doesn't empower you as a woman. And I feel like that's something that's been lost in this new wave of feminism. And it's very alarming, and it's like, what? Do you want every single woman to go wear a potato sack? Like Rose from The Last Jedi? Is that what you want every woman to look like? Because I'm sure as hell not going to wear that. Like, no. Come on. It doesn't make sense. So, and it's exhausting to have to continuously repeat this. However, earlier in the interview, Mulgrew would praise Roddenberry. Well, now you were talking about a visionary and his name was Gene Roddenberry. I 100% agree with this. Space, the final frontier. These are the Voyagers of the USS Enterprise, and then you can have Voyager exploring the the other quadrants of space. He foresaw what others could not see. Yes, the idealistic universe. That is what Star Trek is. Star Trek gives us hope for humanity, or at least it did me. When I was a child, I saw Star Wars, and I saw the way that the, Darth Vader and the Emperor took over this galaxy, and, yes, there's Jedi, yes, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Chewie, R2, C-3PO, they were able to save everyone. The rebels were able to fight. But then you watch something like Star Trek, and you have Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock. Oh, sorry, this thing always pops up. Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock, and guess what? They're in this ideological universe where all of the problems that we're facing today, or that they were facing back then in the 60s and the 70s, it's all gone. Earth resolved all of its differences, we united as one, and then they created the United Federation of Planets, and humans are able to put their differences aside from Vulcans, from other species, and we're able to work together. And it's at that point where, hey, guess what? We don't have to worry about war. All we have to worry about is exploration. Yes, the Klingons are going to be a problem, but we already know that that's going to get resolved, because that was, hinting at the Cold War, and that was Gene's way of explaining, hey, you know what? We might be different, but there's a lot of similarities between us, and if we just work together, we can accomplish anything. And look at how great the world would be if we just put our differences aside, and we solved world hunger, we accomplished world peace, and now we're able to just go explore. And the only problems that we have to face now is other species and how we interact with each other. Groundbreaking. Something that I had never seen before, and that inspired me, and that is something that we should strive for. We should strive for something like that. And I mean, I know it's not going to be accomplished in my lifetime, but I got to watch it in Star Trek. I got to see what the world could be like to the best of its abilities in this ideologic universe, and it's amazing. And Gene Roddenberry created that, and if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have Star Trek, and we wouldn't have that hope for our future that he gave us. The fact that Star Trek emerged at the same time is no accident. Roddenberry came into his own at exactly the time we recognize the value and possibility of material space travel. I think it was more of like an ideological thing, but maybe it's just because I just went off on that little tangent that took me out of this little quote for her. But she's praising him, and then she insults him in this. So they said that she did say this first and then that. Let's see what else she had to say. Mulgrew even recalled how she met a number of women during a visit to the White House, and recalled how they had been inspired by Janeway. They come out of school, MIT, Harvard, Yale, and instead of going into research, sitting in an office, they said they wanted to go into the field. They wanted to go up. Watching Catherine Janeway captain a starship empowered them in a way that nothing else could at the time. We're talking about the 90s in Hollywood. What they put on television is harboring of things to come. Well, I feel like I might have hit it later, because I wasn't able to watch Star Trek Voyager until I was in high school when it was on Netflix, because like I said, I only could watch what we had on like VHS or DVD, and my mom wasn't about to go spend the money to go get me all the seasons of Voyager, so I only had the things that my dad had, which was Star Trek, the original series on VHS, and then the individual episodes. We had some where it was like a few episodes, and others where it was like each individual episode. And then we had The Next Generation, but it wasn't the entire series, but I was able to see the entire series even though we didn't own it, because my cousins had it. But so I feel like that kind of hit me later. But as far as if you want to say to look up to women, yeah, but I mean, I feel like I looked up more to other crewmates on the ship than I did to Janeway, because Janeway is a very, very flawed character. But yeah, she's a strong woman. She's an empowering woman, especially when, she's got her back to the wall. She's that, that tiger that's going to fight. You corner a tiger, it's going to put out its claws. And that's the one thing about Janeway. She is a hardcore fighter. You want to, go to war with Janeway? Well, guess what? It's to the death. That's how Janeway is. And she's, a very exciting and empowering character. But I mean, growing up, she wasn't the person that shaped me. It was Captain Kirk and Spock that shaped me, and looking up to them, even, Dr. McCoy and Scotty, and I'm really inspired when I see shows about friendship. And so watching the dynamic between Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock, and just Captain Kirk's loyalty to the Enterprise, him sacrificing his own happiness for his ship, for his friends. When you watch The Wrath of Khan and you see, what happens with Spock, and how broken Kirk is, and then that speech at the end, they love the Enterprise, and they would give anything for the Enterprise, and that's inspiring. That's something that when people can put their own lives aside, and humans in nature were very selfish creatures, so for them to put that aside and look at the greater good for the crew and for the ship, that's empowering, that's inspiring, at least to me. And I know everyone is different, but I got to grow up watching Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock and learning from them, and even McCoy, and again Scotty, and Uhura, and Sulu, and Chekhov, and then, Captain Picard. I feel like, he helped me learn, what diplomacy is, because that's who Captain Picard is. And then you get to see the crew of the Next Gen and Riker, and again, I love friendship, so I love seeing that. Even Worf, we see Worf completely change from the beginning to the end of the series. In the beginning, he's just this aggressive Klingon, and then we get to learn more about the Klingons and their culture, and it's great, and you get to see Worf develop so much and everything that he goes through in his life. Damn. That's why everyone loves Worf. And, even Data. Data isn't even human. Data is someone that wants to be human. And, you have Q that's always being like, why do you want to be human? Like, why would you want to do that when you could do this? And then, Data is able to touch Q. Like, he gets through to him in a way that no other crewmate is able to. And Q gives him a gift, the gift of laughter. That's a really big feat for someone to accomplish. That's inspiring. That's something for me to look up to. You want to say that women got inspired by Janeway to go into the field? That's great for them. But all these people inspired me to be a better person and to look at things through that lens. And I feel like it helped me a lot. And again, I think maybe I missed it because I had already, developed so much as a person before I watched Voyager, but that's great for them. And I don't know where she's going with this, but since it said White House, I have a feeling something's about to come up, and I don't like to get into politics. So I'm going to read this, and we will see if I have to avoid talking about politics. But I feel like that's kind of where this is going, because the way that this is kind of geared is that, I'm the first female captain, so that's why I'm important, which is true. She is important. I have a feeling, and I can kind of see where this is going already, so let's dive into them. Mulgrew would also make her opinion of President Donald Trump and his goal to return to the moon known. Alright, politics. I'm going to kind of glaze over this because I don't like talking about politics on my channel. Now we have this clown, Donald Trump, who has no vision whatsoever. So space imagination has been blunted for the time being. Well, I wouldn't put your one hope in, the President of the United States. Look at somebody like Elon Musk. Like, I feel like you should be a glass is, half full, not a glass is half empty. You're always going to have a barrier, and that's something that Captain Catherine Janeway should be very well aware of. Heck, she was stranded in the Delta Quadrant. She should know if there's going to be something that's stopping you, there's always a way to, get out of it. There's always a way to overcome it. There's always a loophole. She should know that with all of her dealings, with the Kazon, with the Borg, with the Delta Quadrant. She should know this. So you want to say, okay, you think Donald Trump is stunting space travel? Okay, then look at somebody like Elon Musk. Talk about Elon Musk. Talk about SpaceX. Talk about the things that he's doing, his plan for Mars. And now it's become more of, we're at that time where now we have the technology for, privately owned space enterprises where they're going to go and, try to do that, from independently owned companies. It's not just the government that's in charge of space travel. It's, the rich people that have all these companies that can afford to do programs with space travel. And again, one of the big people that pops into my mind instantly, Elon Musk. So instead of focusing on the negatives that are politics and that, if you don't agree with American politics, that's fine. But don't focus on the glass is half empty. You're a captain. You're a Starfleet captain. You should inspire people. If that's a problem, okay, well, guess what? If there's a problem, there's a solution. Solution, here's the problem. Okay, let's go to this solution. You're a captain. People look up to you, and getting involved in politics is really, really messy, really fast, and I don't think you should limit yourself to just saying, one thing about yes, it is a fact. That is the President of the United States. You don't have to like him. That's completely fine. I myself am never going to talk about, my own personal views on politics because of this reason. You do not want to limit your audience. You do not want to alienate your audience. There are plenty of people that I know that love Star Trek that are Republicans, that like the President of the United States. Just as well as there are people that are, on the left, that are Democrats, that can't stand the president, that love Star Trek. So you saying this alienates half of those people. I mean, there's plenty of little girls out there that, are raised in Republican families that consider what you're saying is wrong, but that look up to you and you're breaking their heart. So don't limit yourself in that way. And, again, you can say, oh yeah, well, I don't agree with it, but here's the answer. That's something that I think a lot of people don't understand, especially big public figures like this. And that's why it breaks my heart to see, her being a glasses half empty kind of person as compared to a glasses half full. Yeah, shit sucks sometimes in real life, and that's not just in America, that's all over the world. So if you just want to focus on politics, well, guess what? One of the great things about politics is that it always changes. You don't like that one person? Well, unless they're in the American government system, or I guess this one is the legislative, unless they're one of the Supreme Court people, they're always going to change. So you don't like this person now? This person, in your opinion, sucks? Well, guess what? In so many years, they're going to be gone, and there's going to be another problem. So if you just let yourself focus on the negativity of politics, that's just a rabbit hole that's never going to stop. So you as a Starfleet captain, you that are talking about how we're talking to all these women that you inspired back in the 90s, well, the politics were completely different back in the 90s than they were now. So why don't focus on the politics and focus on the future and the optimism that you could have. And that's something that, Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock and Jean-Luc Picard and Janeway. And, even the Doctor, even Cisco, even Worf, even Data, even when things are hopeless, it seems hopeless, even if you don't agree with this, there's always a way. And, there's always the brighter side of things that you can look at. And as Captain Janeway, Captain Catherine Janeway, please, it breaks my heart to know that, I know that this is the actress, this isn't the captain speaking, but in my mind, I don't know her personally, so I can only talk as the little bit that I know her of as the captain, and I wish that she would be more optimistic and stop focusing on the politics and focus on what the other possibilities could be, because if this isn't going to work out, if A doesn't work out, well then guess what, you got B, you got C, you got D, you got all the way to Z. Just because one door is closed, there's a million more that are going to be open. If you missed the bus right now, guess what? There's another one in 15 minutes. And I think that's something that should be thought about before you start, making declarations like this and alienating half, the people, and then attacking or, saying things about people that can no longer defend themselves. And I'm one of those people that, especially now, don't speak ill of the dead. Let's see. I don't think he has any intention of returning to the moon. He's not educated. He's inept, and there is nothing of self-gain. Space for Donald Trump. Nothing promotional for him. All right. Well, that all ties. I didn't even have to read those last couple of sentences. It all ties in. And again, I do not like getting into politics, and I just kind of explain my reasons why. To close up the interview, after calling Star Trek the original series extremely misogynistic and painting only Gene Roddenberry but Jean-Luc Picard as misogynist as well, Mulgrew would indicate she would like to return to the franchise to the upcoming Star Trek Picard show. I might go back and talk to them passionately about the way, the truth, the light. What do you think of Kate Mulgrew's view on Star Trek, and would you like to see Janeway make a return? I don't agree with all of her views. That was just said, and I just went on that little, that little tangent rant thing, but I don't think that was a tangent because it was very valid to what I was speaking about. I would love to see Janeway come back. Love it. Bring back Janeway. Bring back Chakotay. Bring back Paris. Bring back Harry. Bring back B'Elanna. I love B'Elanna. Bring back B'Elanna. Bring back the Doctor. 7 of 9's already back. Bring back Neelix. Come come on. I still want to see Neelix. Maybe there's some kind of wormhole that can lead you to the Delta Quadrant. Something. I would love to see it, but please, please, I am begging you. Leave the politics out of the show. Leave it out. Make it what Star Trek was. And that was, space, the final frontier. You want to, it's something that's not going to be relevant in 10 years. 10 years from now, I don't want to hear about all the politics that's going on now. Because I don't care. I don't care about it. I want to hear about Star Trek. I want to see what Jean-Luc Picard's doing. If Janeway's back, I would love to see a scene between Jean-Luc Picard and Janeway and them have a heart-to-heart about the Borg. And, see Captain Jean-Luc Picard open up about his experience with the Borg and being Locutus. And then have Captain Janeway talk about fighting them in the Delta Quadrant. They can both talk about their experiences with the Borg Queen. Leave the politics out of it and have the story. And you have so much to work with. There's so much depth and dynamic you can have with these two characters interacting, and us seeing that. It would be, every nerd's kind of wet dream coming true. And I feel like if they would just leave the politics out of it and they would just focus on the story and the lore behind everything that's in Star Trek, and, bring lore back into the character, it would be great. But with the way things are going in current media, I don't have, high hopes, and it's so exhausting about getting excited and then having the thing that I love crushed, and I don't want to see it happen to Star Trek too, the way it happened to Star Wars. And, what can you do? But everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm kind of saddened by, the things that Janeway said, or Kate Mulgrew said, I should say, because I can't keep referring to her as the character that she played. But let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, that's okay too. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Make sure you click that little bell. That way you get notifications when I do other videos and live streams. And until next time, everyone, have a great rest of your day. And may the Force be with you, because we are really, really, really going to need it. Bye, everyone. What's up, everyone? I have a P.O. box, so if you want to send me some mail, go ahead and send it to Anna, That Star Wars Girl, or TSWG for short, at P.O. Box number 28171, Santa Ana, California, 927998171. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much.